Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Scratch Post We Scratch at that gaming itch. Of course, tonight is, of course, one of the last weeks of the month, and so while we're one day late, it is my pleasure to, of course, welcome you, as I do at the end of every month, to the Comment Dense Podcast. General Kenobi and a Science Games Life Business. So yes, welcome everyone to the Common Dense Podcast. It's the monthly podcast where I gather three of my friends and we talk densely upon the main topics that have happened over the last month in the geeky gaming sphere, as I like to talk about. So, without further ado, let me introduce my fellow members. We've got Shadow.
Hello.
We've got Burr.
Good evening.
And of course we have Lemming.
Howdy.
You're not from the States. Well, you technically, technically you are, but
you are no longer from the States. The North has absolved you.
What can I do?
You're a northern lad. So, let's kind of get on with the show. First of all, let's deal with what we always talk about at the start of the show, which is what we've been playing. I'm going to start off. I've been playing Sonic Origins. That's all I've had time for this month because I've been doing RPG stuff. Moving on. Next is Shadow.
I'm deleting.
That's why I timed that very intentionally.
You son of a bitch. In fairness, I've been mostly playing Roots of Pacha, but I've played it enough that I only have one achievement remaining.
Oh wow!
And it's the one where I've got to get 1 million contribution score, and that takes fucking forever. And I'm sorry, I've already played 150 hours of Roots of Pacha, so I think I'm about done.
You're done.
About done for a little while until the next update comes along, and then I'll go back to it, kind of thing. But of recent, I did reinstall StarCraft 2 and had some fun with the co-op missions with my friend Burr. Is up there.
Yeah,
it
was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
which then got me to install it.
And we discovered new things about ourselves.
Yeah, StarCraft 2 is now free to play, and I can't remember because I bought Wings of Liberty at the time. I have no idea what that means for anything else, but it is free to play now. So I think if you want to pick up StarCraft 2, I think it's available for people.
I literally never touched it. I've played Warcraft 3, but I never touched StarCraft. So, and maybe might be my time to jump in. You better give it a go.
Yeah, because it's free to play. I could just say, sure, go right ahead, kind of thing. Like, figure out whether you're Terran, Zerg, or Protoss. If you're Protoss, I will be slightly disappointed in you, but
no, we don't. We don't.
We don't judge. We don't
judge. Yeah, we don't discriminate against Protoss.
We don't judge, but I will be side-eyeing you.
Yeah, you are talking to the person who likes playing as the Soviet Russia in Red Alert 3 because Tim Curry and hilarity.
Probably end up playing the Terran then.
That and vehicles that literally throw troops at people.
You want to get you'd like to get your battle cruiser.
Maybe.
Yes.
Oh yes.
This is your other light cruiser.
This is your Terran battle cruiser. This is your other Terran battle cruiser.
Okay, so Roots of Pacha for Shadow. Lemming, what have you been playing?
I've been playing a number of things. First of all, I got myself hooked into Mars First Logistics. Thanks, Weird FTW, for pulling me into that one. I've been playing my 111th hour of Power Wash Simulator. I'm trying to get as much of that done, including the SpongeBob SquarePants DLC, before the upcoming Warhammer 40k DLC. It's due out in November.
There's a SpongeBob DLC?
Yes.
Drifting's been streaming it.
yeah. I'm waiting for an extra. If you watch this Drifting, I'm waiting for your next stream because I want to see your reaction to the next couple of things you've got to clean. Okay. I want to see that reaction. No spoilers because it's actually funny. But yeah, Power Simulator has a 40k expansion coming about November, and I'm all for it.
I was just about to ask if that had dropped yet.
Yeah, and BattleBit Remastered.
Oh, what's that?
Which it's basically a multiplayer shooter in the style of Battlefield, modern weapons, modern equipment, modern vehicles, mass battles, but it's in the voxel. It's in the It's in the blocky Minecraft-esque style.
Oh, voxels.
Yeah, voxel style. So it runs like a dream. Like, it's incredibly popular right now. You can get into servers almost instantly. The load time is near instantaneous. Take note, AAA developers. When we want to play a multiplayer game, we want to be in the game in less than 30 seconds. 5-minute loading times can get stuffed.
Getting flashbacks to Squadrons. Gee.
Bingo! But yeah, it's just like you click game, and within 15 seconds, it's loaded the game and you're picking your loadout.
We need to play Squadrons again soon.
Yes.
Yeah, we do. I'll have it reinstalled whenever you call for it.
I do know
Yes.
that our mutual friend, Mr. Mr. Chris, has actually. He was talking about it today, so he might have purchased it. So
We'll find out. But yeah, BattleBit Remastered is currently on Steam for £13.
not bad.
If you're after a fun modern shooter, you can do a lot worse.
Right then. Anything else, or has that been it for this month?
No, that's it for now.
And what about you, Burr? What have you been playing?
Well, I've been for a lot of July. I've actually been on holiday, so I've not been playing anything.
Oh yeah.
It's on fire
Yeah.
though, which is good.
Oh, you did get set on fire.
Yeah.
I did receive something.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I received a postcard from what he was agreeing, which arrived after he got home. But you know,
Just check
literally-
those postcards.
Yeah.
That's how postcards work.
I was pretty sure that that's what's gonna happen.
I've been to Crete before. Like, can recommend. Honestly.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Oh yeah, Crete is a lovely place.
Mm.
Oh. Well, not now because now it's like everything's on
it's
fire.
on fire.
Everything's really hot
Yeah.
and on fire. Yeah.
It is Bernie
Which is-
Bernie, yes.
Which is absolutely bizarre because at the same time Greece is on fire, whereas here in Krakow it's like 11 degrees.
Yeah, it's raining outside right
Yeah,
now.
and it's raining. Yes.
Yeah, so it's
Keep in
Same,
mind
same
that
thing here.
Global warming does cause more
Yeah.
rain
Yeah.
because the temperature means the clouds are gonna.
yeah, basically it
Yeah.
causes like it causes the monsoon weather in places where it shouldn't be.
Yeah,
I just
places
wish we
far.
could-
Yeah.
Yeah, just take
Sorry.
all the rain that we're having here and dump it over Greece.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that. Yeah.
It'd be very nice if people who don't believe in global warming could hurry the fuck up and get with the program.
Yeah, can we like sort out these big companies and tell them, could you fucking not pollute? Thank you. Also,
I mean,
Also-
I think first off we need to change our language. Change it from global warming because some places aren't. It is now
Yeah.
warming, but for the last 20 years it's been climate change before
Yeah.
global warming. But you were
Yeah,
saying.
I would even
yeah,
right now I'd even go ahead and call it a climate crisis. Climate crisis.
it pretty much is now. Yeah.
Climate crisis.
For the first thing I do, ban all private jets.
Yes.
Round as bastards.
Yeah,
Yep.
we're just like, I'm sorry, guys. Unless you're transporting organs to donors, like no private jets anymore. You get on the cattle class for the rest.
I
It's
mean,
like- It's like my local air show. The Sunderland International Air Show has now been permanently cancelled for numerous reasons. The first and foremost being they're worried about the environment.
Mm.
Which I can understand.
Yeah.
Doesn't stop my co-workers at work from going, oh, I really like that. They're idiots for cancelling it.
They're not idiots. The air show literally is just there to watch people fly the plane. It's superfluous. It's entertainment, but there's also various other forms of entertainment out there that don't cost this.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I would like to point out that there are versions of this that don't ruin the environment. The Royal International Air Tattoo, RIAT, every year, for the last couple of years during COVID, cancelled entirely and did it all digitally.
Oh wow.
They had air shows being done in virtual reality using DCS, which is a flight program, which is completely
Nice.
complete simulation from the ground up of the aircraft.
Cool.
Honestly, I would be down to watch that in
Yeah.
And then they
VR.
flew them in a virtual
Ah.
airspace that was basically the airfield that they tend to use. Can't remember which RF base they use, but they use that, and then they had basically a ground set camera to watch it all, and then cameras dotted around the aircraft so you could watch them, and actual pilots flying them.
I was just about
That's
to say
so
you,
cool.
you could do interesting stuff like that because now suddenly you as the viewer, your view isn't constrained to just this. It's you can suddenly have the camera around. You can
Yeah.
be dynamic, and
Could
that's
even
Is
be in
that-
the cockpit if you wanted.
yeah.
Yeah, is that one of those programs that used to be Sims used to train the military, but then they got obsolete, got decommissioned, and could be
Presumably,
used
it's available on
for
Steam.
civilians?
Believe it
Huh.
or not, DCS is on Steam, but it's a complete ground-up flight simulator.
Wow.
Anything else? Anything else, Burr?
Yes. So after I returned, I've actually been playing a bit of Guardians of the Galaxy,
I've noticed you've been playing that.
Oh yeah.
which is super fun. It's it's an action adventure. It has a bit of like team tactics fighting because in battle mode it resembles very much the Bureau XCOM Declassified or Mass Effect 2
Hmm.
or maybe Mass Effect 3 or maybe Andromeda. I've never played Andromeda, so I'm gonna stick to 2 and 3. But it's with real time giving commands to your friends to support you. It's a lot of fun, but especially I love the humor in that game. It's the constant banter between the Guardians is the chef's kiss. It's absolutely brilliant. That's
Yeah,
the best part of the game.
because effectively it's using the Marvel Avengers engine, but it's effectively apparently just really, really good compared to
Yeah.
Marvel Avengers.
Also, unlike Marvel's Avengers, the fact that the Guardians are a complete different characters, different models from the movie, does not make this like it's not as painful as watching those Avenger characters because all those characters in the Guardians of the Galaxy they don't look like in MCU. But it doesn't matter. They're still amazing. They're still the same characters. They have the same quirks and personalities, and it's a really fun game.
Good.
Yeah.
All right then. Well,
So I take back all the because if you remember, I was bashing
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot of
I
that
was
game
also-
because I thought it's gonna be Marvel's Avengers 2 Galaxy Boogaloo, and it's not, and it's brilliant.
Oh, good.
right then. Well, that does it for what we've been playing. Now let's move on to the first segment of the podcast, or second segment if you count the what we've been playing. The news. So it's been an interesting month. We've got quite a few news cycles to go through, which basically we don't cover the entirety of news in the podcast. We basically cherry pick some news that we're interested in, and we go through that. Shadow, would you like to kick us off with the quick and easy one?
Yeah, so Activision Blizzard is being bought up by Microsoft finally.
It's going through.
Yeah, and people are cheering it for some
No.
reason, and like
I would like to personally congratulate Bobby Kotick on his golden parachute. Now, someone hand me the fucking rifle so I can shoot a hole in it.
yeah,
RPG.
yeah.
No, that'll probably miss.
No. Heat-seeking missile. Then
Yeah,
you
that'll
want to
do,
be
yeah.
sure. You want to be sure you hit.
Yeah, like that's,
I was thinking more like a CWIS system, but there you go. 3,000 rounds a minute, that'd do it.
Back to Shadow.
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that's the worst thing about it. Like Bobby Kotick gets away scot-free, kind of thing. It's just it fucking sucks, man.
Yeah.
And the fact I see people cheering this as well is just like, guys, nothing good comes from a consolidation of any industry, any industry at all. And like, I really fucking hope this doesn't come back to bite us in the ass because, like, well, it
It
will
will.
come back
It
to
will.
bite us in the ass because Microsoft is not the cute, sweet,
No.
like they're not here for you.
No.
They're here for their money, kind of
I
thing.
mean,
And as soon as they
Yeah.
can get away with putting stuff on Xbox and leaving the PlayStation out to dry, they will do that. They will do that instantly. I mean,
Mhm.
they've already taken away. Xbox Gold Live or something. They took away one of the tiers, and they they've already taken away one of the tiers for that and upped the prices. And it's like, oh yeah, you're not getting the free game. You're not getting free games on the gold system. Get fucked, kind of thing. They've already done that, and they've done it. They did it when they were Windows. They'll do it again. And people are just being like, "Yay! I get my favorite game
Yeah.
under Microsoft's umbrella, woo!" And
That's
maybe Blizzard gets their ass boiled out because Bobby's allowed them to, to shipwreck. But
that's
Like,
how competition dies.
good,
With thunderous
like, good
applause.
versus evil
Yeah.
here. Good. Activision Blizzard will probably get their ass kicked into not being absolutely toxic anymore. Fingers crossed.
I am pressing my X to doubt. No.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
possible that happens
yeah,
because Microsoft, being a massive international corporation, does not want that sort of criticism and controversy being under its label. But the bad points is they're a corporation. They're already owned by scumbags because they're a corporation, and they have a history of doing scummy things. And the other part of the whole is all corporations are bad.
yeah.
And they
And
never
the bigger
never
they get,
have
the
the
worse
good
they
of
get.
and they never have the good of the people, of the customers on their mind because they only want the money.
And I
Yeah.
remind everybody watching that this also applies to every corporation. Just because Disney are doing the nice stuff right now doesn't mean in 5 years' time they're not going to be taking over Hollywood and then ramping up the prices on everything they own.
Yeah, they still need to pay their fucking writers.
That too.
Do that.
Oh yeah, there's a writer strike going on.
There's a writer strike going on.
Strike.
and it's-
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd also
Writer and actor and the whole industry.
that's
Stuntmen have joined too.
let's focus on.
Yeah.
Yeah, shut up.
yeah, I just also wanted to point out it would be nice if Microsoft kicked Activision Blizzard's ass, but the thing about Microsoft is they're a famously hands-off owner. I mean, they were hands-off for Bethesda, they'll be hands-off for
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard, because with the recent allegations that have been coming out about from Bethesda about how they've been treating their trans employees has been a bit woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great. But then
Not
again,
pleasant.
we already had some interesting things about Bethesda with Mick Gordon's situation.
Yeah. I mean, we've also seen interesting things about ZeniMax and Bethesda with whatever the fuck that game about vampires that they released.
Oh, Redfall. No, Redfall was Arcane.
Oh,
But
Arcane, sorry.
they're published by Bethesda, I believe.
But
They're
they're
published by Bethesda, yeah.
Yeah, but they were very hands off with Redfall. They were basically like, or was it them that told them they had to do a thing? I can't remember.
From what I understand, it was Bethesda said you need to make Redfall, and basically even if Arcane
Oh
didn't
yeah,
want to do it.
yeah, because they were like, hey, you need to do this, and Arcane were like,
Yeah, but they were like, we don't know how and we don't want it. This is not our cup of tea. I don't
Yeah.
care. We want Redfall by this month.
yeah, Bethesda was like, don't care,
Yeah.
figure it out. And guess what? It was a piece of shit.
And so Arcane went, no, this is bullshit. I did not. I don't want to do this. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark. And then
Yeah,
And the
then
mark was very low.
Yeah, and then Microsoft was like, here's Redfall, and Redfall was shit.
yes, unfortunately so. So that's the news cycle from Shadow. Very short and sweet because it's not the best news. Let's move on to something a bit more up, shall we? Maybe, possibly.
I have nothing up. I have nothing uplifting, but in the with the current topic coming up today, I'd suggest doing Burrs. Burrs first, because mine quite nicely slots into the topic.
All right then, Burr next.
Unfortunately, so does mine, but I can go with mine as well. Okay, so mine is very sort of weird and controversial, but not in a very bad way, but in a kind of discussion starting way. It's a good conversation starter.
Okay.
There is this young man by the name of let me Javier Nelson Jr., who's the owner and main developer of an indie dev company called what's it called? Hold on. I'm trying to find
Professional.
Strange Scaffold. It's a very small indie dev.
I think I know where this is going.
They've not made a lot of games yet, and those games that I've made, they are very niche and like not not a large scope. He's gone in the beginning of July. He's gone on a rant on Twitter regarding how Baldur's Gate 3, a game that is going to be released at the beginning of August by Larian Studios, which already is a gigantic game, should not be treated as any sort of yardsticks, any sort of standard. Other games should not be measured to the scope and quality that Baldur's Gate 3 is. Because he's saying this is an anomaly. They had a very long development cycle, started in 2017. They had two huge previous games, Divinity Original Sin 1 and 2, that are already huge boost for the game because the whole engine was just taken wholesale from those games and used. They've had a very long early access because they started in September or October 2020, and for 3 years, almost 3 years, the game was in early access, so it could be polished with a very long open beta. The Larian Studios is a huge studio that has like 7 offices across the world with 400 plus employees. There's 7 other studios that are involved in the game. And he's saying that people should not be treating any other video games based on that standard. People should not be demanding that games are of this quality. And when we were talking initially about it, we have no idea why he decided to go on this run, why he needed to have this discussion. But there's a lot of devs that joined in the discussion, from smaller companies, from other indie devs, supporting those views, but also from companies like Insomniac, or like Obsidian, or Activision Blizzard, saying that, yeah, he's right, people should not be treating Baldur's Gate as something typical, that this is absolutely atypical, and that Baldur's Gate had a lot of luck with how things turned out, and people should not demand this quality, and people should not treat this as raising the bar higher for others. In the time since he started, there's been a lot of people bashing on him as well, because not everyone agrees with this statement. And he's also released some other tweets that are trying to explain better what he meant. So what I understood from that, the gist is that his idea is that time and money and qualified workers don't equal to good quality game, don't equal to great game. They just increase the risk of this game flopping, and it's just sheer dumb luck that the Baldur's Gate came out good, which is really weird, and I absolutely don't agree with that.
No, the first thing I'd like to ask is, like, who like, who the fuck was already doing this? Who asked?
Yeah,
Like,
I really don't know.
who asked?
I don't think he ever addressed, but it must be like he's felt threatened, which is strange because he has a very small indie dev. No one is expecting of him the quality of games that are like Baldur's Gate 3. He's not expected to release games that require 400 people and 10 years of development.
Yeah, like I don't understand. Like, I mean, I can understand that some gamers TM.
Yeah.
I must add, like, some of them will be like, oh yes, we expect this indie dev to give us something along the lines of Baldur's Gate 3 kind of thing. But
Yeah.
like most people will be like, an indie game's an indie game. An indie studio is an indie studio. There's only so much they can do, kind of thing. And the thing is, like, I don't like. That's all I can think of is, like, who the fuck asked? Who the fuck was saying? Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
that's-
can't
another thing-
understand.
that's
I
the
can't.
thing.
Like, I don't understand
Yeah.
who was saying this. Who was saying
And-
this before he said anything? I don't think anybody was.
Yes, Lemmy?
Another thing to ask is, why is there a bar to begin with?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a
Every
good point.
game's different.
I mean,
Why
I can.
is there a so-called bar on how to develop a video game? Like, what standard you have to set to?
Not just
The
that,
only
but
standard is what you are physically capable of making.
well, it's not just that. It's the fact that this is a role-playing fantasy game. I can understand if you're like measuring it up against other RPG fantasy games in the future, like any, like the next Witcher that comes out will likely be compared to this, something like that. But you're not going to say, oh well, I'm going to compare this Star Wars game against that. No, that they're very different games.
I'm gonna take this Metroidvania and compare it to Baldur's Gate 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, I also don't like how, like, devs are saying this, because I can understand that maybe that I'm going to still man the argument here and say that these devs are probably saying, like, it shouldn't be held up to this bar because they are worried that if their corporate overlords see this, they will say, we expect this from our employees, and the dev's work environment will become worse because of it. The expectations will be higher. That's what I presume.
Except we won't give them as much time and money.
Yeah, I think that's the steelman argument I see from that. But at the same time, when devs say this, it can come across to the layman as laziness, and that's not a good sign, because to other, like, I understand now. I understand.
Yeah, I don't like hearing the L word.
Yeah. I completely understand that. I completely know where it's coming from. But I also think that, especially spawn companies like Activision Blizzard, if gamers and the laymen see from an outside looking in, they see these devs saying this, and they think that their games are mediocre, they're gonna think that these devs don't want to be held to a higher standard, and that's not a good look to have. That's not good optics. Even though it's not completely true, it's not laziness or anything. It's just, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. I'm sorry.
No.
Yeah,
it
is not a good look, and I do understand that. I feel like you might be right with the fact that they had to do that so that they have some sort of backup for when their bosses decide to, like, yeah, we're gonna try to make Baldur's Gate 3, but for quarter the money and quarter the time.
I want you to make a game that's as highly rated as like Baldur's Gate 3. I want you to make it in half the time with half the money.
Yeah. I also think that a thought that's just occurred to me now is, like, it might be an Elden Ring syndrome, where their games are going to be compared to Elden Ring kind of thing, and because they've had comparisons of that happening, they don't want Baldur's Gate to become the new Elden Ring. Like, is your game as good as, kind of
The
thing?
problem,
Like,
once again, is that Elden Ring also had like fucking 10 years development. People for the last people for the last 5 years on the Souls like forums were saying like, "Where's Elden Ring? Where's Elden Ring? It was promised to us."
Yeah, I think the problem is probably coming because there's such a disconnect between the consumers
Yeah.
and the devs kind of thing. They're not seeing like I think somewhere somebody said that the knowledge of production that happens in video games is actually one of the most obfuscated sort of industries there is.
Yeah.
Like barely anybody gets a look in.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's badly
100%,
affecting
yeah.
us.
Yeah, 100%.
People don't really care to know how the sausage is made. It's the entertainment. They don't want to know that it sometimes will even impact negatively on their enjoyment.
No, I'm gonna go on a limb. Is the gamers don't want to care about that because at that point they are made to feel like they should feel sorry for basically not knowing gives gamers an out to say, well, just make it. It's fine. You just make it. It breaks it down to a very simple process for them, which is actually more complicated than they realize. And gamers who are then told, well, actually, this is very difficult, then complain that they're being spoken down to, and that that these developers should be lucky that they even got their job. Gamers always seem to find a way to always make it about how it's like, oh well, it's just unfair in regardless.
They just don't want to take responsibility for their
You game developer slave. I've thought of a game. Make it.
pretty much, yeah.
I mean, remember when we found out that doors are very hard to make in video games?
And ladders.
And how we take them for granted in games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating and also extremely funny.
Yeah.
I think there's an ingrained sense of just what's the word I'm even looking for here? Just like
welcome to my world.
I don't think it's entitlement.
Entitlement for
it is,
the actual gamers as to what the developers can give them. Like we've spent 50 years of not us. None of us are 50 years old. We've spent decades getting advertised to by not just the developers, but also magazines that are putting out reviews, sensationalism, all trying to get us, the gamers, to buy their product as well. And it's just bringing to mind that how many small first-person shooters have had themselves held up against a big title, like games being described as the Halo killer or the next Grand Theft Auto.
The WoW killers.
The WoW killers in the MMO scene. We are doing this to ourselves. The game magazines are produced, or they should be produced, by fans of video games. So they're the ones hyping this up, and the hype is killing us.
And it's not like it's not like I don't want games to be better. That's not what I don't want. I just that I want there to be realistic expectations for what the resources that company has and can produce.
Yeah. What a thought that did occur to me just as you were speaking, Lemming, is like, especially on WoW killers, is like, I wonder if those devs fear that it's ancillary to my other point, that the devs will see their overlords will see Baldur's Gate 3 and want to do that again to try it to piggyback off it without realizing the amount of time and effort that's actually gone into Baldur's Gate 3 and the early access period and stuff like that. Because the thing is, like, you can never, like, you can't do a Baldur's Gate 3 but I don't know, like Baldur's Gate 3 but EA version, because Baldur's Gate 3 is Baldur's Gate 3. You've got to be your own thing. Like, that's how the WoW killers all fell by the wayside. They all tried to be WoW when they needed to be somebody else.
And the board of directors and CEO's decision making is like, I want a game that is gonna be as good and as high grossing as Baldur's Gate, and I want it before the fiscal year.
Yeah, exactly. And that's worse. These are the people who running these things who have no fucking clue how gaming works. And we've seen it all the time with trend chasing. We've had it where they've chased the Fortnite trend. Fortnite clones. And it's like, you can't just expect to throw out there and expect it to be good. Thankfully, go on.
Look at one of the biggest shooters in the world, Call of Duty. the year after EA produced Titanfall, the multiplayer-only sensation when it comes to first-person shooters, I adored how that game ran, how that game worked. The year after that game came out, Activision forced out their next game, their next Call of Duty game, and made it sci-fi. And they added double jumping. The things that were all in Titanfall and causing a lot of headlines.
I
Trent?
For
remember.
no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on, Shadow.
I was going to say, I remember a lot of Souls-like after Dark Souls got really popular. Like a lot of games suddenly got really hard,
Yeah.
and they didn't realize that the difficulty is part of the thing, but there's more things than just I'm really hard and really really mean to you.
Yeah, you don't want to be just bashing your head against a wall. You want the progress. You want to see the cracks happening as you get through it.
I forget what I was just saying.
But the trend chasing is a problem within the industry because, yes, you'll get board directors say, I want you to make the next Fortnite, and I want you to do it in half the time with half the money. And it's like, they don't realize that that you can't do that because it was made for that money. And that's, again, I think you're absolutely right, Shadow. We'll see directors saying, well, that team made Baulders Gate. We could make a Baulders Gate. We've got a development team. You development team, I want you to make this Baulders Gate, and we're going to give you this much money and this much time. And the company says, but that's half what we need to make that. And it's like, we'll make it work. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
It's like I'm really surprised how those CEOs don't understand that it's literally someone asking like, I want you to make the next Mona Lisa, or I want you to make the next Apocalypse Now.
But the thing is, like, they only speak in money. What they want is a guaranteed return, and they see something making a lot of money and thinking, well, why can't we do that? We want that money, kind of thing.
That's the problem with executives, is they're only there for the bottom line. They're only there for the money.
Yeah.
So all they care about is seeing that number go up. So it's like, this thing's popular, make more of it.
Yeah, and the thing is, you have the myth of capitalism is the line always goes up. But we can't just keep growing forever.
that's
another thing. So.
I've got a story to tell about that, but let's move on to the final news article, which is Lemming, and we'll move on to the next topic. I'll tell the story because we're talking about the life and times of video games tonight. So it's about development cost, development time, and so on and so forth. So all ties into that. Let's move on to the final news article, Lemming.
Games are shutting down. Games are dying, I'm afraid. And 3 games within the last few months have been announced to be dying. The most recent announcement was close to my heart, Gundam Evolution, a free-to-play Gundam first-person shooter, very much in the style of Overwatch. Played it a bit, played it with friends, and then realized this is actually quite boring and stopped. That's getting shut down in November, meaning it has lived for just over a year. It'll be just over a year old when they finally shut it down. And that is one of 3 big live service games that are getting shut down soon. The first of which was Dreadnought. I don't know if you have heard of Dreadnought.
Not
I
time.
think name rings a bell, but I'm
No.
not sure.
Space capital ship fighting game. You could fire nukes at each other. It was great. Yeah, it's like, I had a nuke. I launch it over there. If they're there when it hits, they're doomed. Brilliant.
I think I do remember Jesse playing that.
Yeah, I believe Jesse Cox played it a couple of times. It was a fun game. It was shut down back in last week. It was shut down very recently. There's only one problem with that. The DLC, the store's still up on Steam, and the DLC is still purchasable.
Oh.
So that's a problem.
Yeah.
And coming up in September, The Cycle Frontier, basically the game that everybody in the Tarkov and survival shooter community was very hyped about. Basically, it's space Tarkov. You drop onto a planet, you mine stuff, you kill stuff, you loot stuff, and you get out. And that's shutting down in September. It had a major problem with lack of commitment, and now is shutting down within a year of opening.
Yeah, and I have heard that the Friday the 13th game, the multiplayer one, is also gearing for a shutdown as well.
Yeah.
because what they've done is they've elevated everybody to max level and given them a shit ton of stuff. Basically, it's just like, hey guys, go nuts because we are going to close down at some point.
Mhm.
Here's some fun before we're sunsetted.
Yeah, this is the last hurrah, you nuts.
Yep,
Yeah.
and there's one major problem with the with those two, with the Cycle and Dreadnought, that I'd like to point out here. They're both shutting down after the developer Jaeger, who developed both games, got bought by a multinational conglomerate.
Oof.
Basically, a big company bought them, looked at them, and went, "Nah," and got rid of the games.
Was it Tencent or something by any chance?
I believe it was a big Chinese multinational. I don't know which one off the top of my head, but something big did happen. Jaeger purchase. See if yes, Tencent. Tencent acquired majority stake in Jaeger Games, and within a month of the purchase, demanded they shut down 2 of their online service titles.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
Put out some really good ideas, and now they're all just getting dropped.
Unfortunately, that does waylay quite well into a topic that I wanted to bring up as news, which is survey shows that 87% of video games are missing.
And that's just in the US.
And that's just in
Yep.
the US. So, and when I say that, everyone, I say 87% of video games that are determined classics, so anything over 10 years old, so any game over 10 years old, 87% of those are gone.
Yeah.
Cannot get hold of them
You
now.
cannot get hold of them through legal means. And I do use that term very appropriately because effectively you can get them if you're gonna, sail the 7 seas. But if there is no legal way to gain them. And
The old internet 5-finger discount.
this was found out by the Video Game History Foundation, which is a non-profit organization which basically is there to promote the history of video games, and basically have been attempting to promote the idea that we need some form of preservation in terms of an official. I mean, right now, if you wanted to go and watch most films, you could literally name me a film, and I could say, okay, I can now go and buy that on iTunes or from any kind of or a particular service, or even off Amazon as a hard copy, even though a film's over 50 years old. I'd say there's very few films that are missing. In fact, the only films that are missing, according to the Historical Foundation, are silent films, which is pre, we're talking 1930s, 1940s. So with that perspective, video games has lost more content than the film industry has, and all that's missing for the film industry is the silent film genre. There is that we're talking about, and that's the thing is, with that we're talking like probably at 5% of movies. Yeah, probably missing, even less than that. 87% of video games are just gone. We've talked preservation on this show before about how it was, and it's time to actually make a stand. The lobbyists for the video game industry attempt to make sure that video games are not considered, basically aren't considered artistically worthy of keeping alive, and they intentionally lobby for that. And they say that you can't have libraries rent out games for people to play for historical purposes. And I think it's time that changed. So, please make sure
I've suddenly gotten a very keen appetite for kneecaps all of a sudden.
So,
yeah, and I'm gonna call them out because they ain't gonna spend time. Nintendo is the worst for this. Like, go fuck yourselves, bros. Like the way you like, oh yeah, we're not gonna release any of our back catalogue, but if you dare emulate anything, we will kill you. And it's just like, Nintendo, go fuck yourself, man. Go fuck yourself.
I can hear the internet screaming right now. Just pirate it. Just pirate it. That doesn't solve the problem. Yes, we don't want to. That doesn't solve the problem. for someone like myself, Shadow, Burn, Lemming, who are very technical minded, we can very easily find ways to play games if we really wanted to.
Yeah,
We're
I'm pretty sure I could get Dolphin set up and play some games.
But that doesn't help the layman who is maybe not really that experienced in gaming. They play on a console and they find out about Metroid and like, oh, I'd kind of like to play an old game from that Metroid series. And then find out, okay, well, you can't buy Metroid Zero Mission anymore, so you're going to need to emulate it. And they then got to educate themselves. So by the time and that requires investment from someone. We're talking about a situation where someone's like, I really want to play this game that's about 20 years old, because I've heard things about it. I go into that store, I find it, I buy it or rent it, and I can play it. It's simple transactional relationship. None of this like, okay, so I need to emulate it. That means I need a computer. Is my computer good enough to do that? What do I need to do that? What program should I run? Which of these many emulators should I run? What's the best one for running it? Emulation.
Go further than that. Go like you say, oh yeah, if you want to play that game, you have to emulate it, and then they go, emulating? What's that?
Yeah, emulation is not a solution; it's a stopgap.
Yeah, we turned to emulation because nobody else was helping us, kind of thing. Yeah. And then we've got Nintendo getting his knickers in a twist, going, no, don't do that. That's mean. That's piracy.
Which I'm like,
just gave us the ROMs. We wouldn't have to do this.
If anything, Nintendo, it's not piracy. It's grave robbing.
And I say that to Nintendo. If you're gonna say you can't play the game, then why don't you sell the fucking game then?
Yeah, exactly. And now, like back in the olden days, when James Stephanie Sterling was still going by her dead name, she said like it's morally correct to pirate Nintendo's games. And at the time, I was like, I think that's a bit strong, Mom. I think that's a little bit strong. But no, I'm completely with her. It's like I'm just gonna say this is my opinion, not shared by the rest of my co-hosts here at all. Like this is my own opinion. It does not reflect on my friends here. But yeah, it's morally right to pirate.
They may have similar opinions, but those are also their own.
Yeah.
So the lobbyists for the video game basically systems. Basically, there are a lot of I think it's the entertainment software. I'm going to call them out by name. The Entertainment Software Association deliberately lobbies against any form of historical preservation with the US Copyright Office, and their main argument is that there's a thriving secondary market where you can buy these games very easily, very accessible. We don't need this. If someone wants to buy that game, they can go and buy the whole game. They can
buying this game, dickheads.
Exactly my point. I mean, let's have a look here. If I really wanted,
anybody really want to fucking try and buy a GameCube in this economy? Because it's not just the GameCube. Because it's not just the fucking GameCube, my sirs. Because there's only a certain amount of monitors that a GameCube can plug into. Notably, CRT monitors. And guess what's not being produced anymore?
CRTs. Let's play a game, everyone. Give me a game that you can't buy commercially available now on any console. Yes, Shadow.
Black and White 2.
Black and White 2. The lady wants Black and White 2. Okay, then. Let's head off to the mystical place that we call eBay.
Oh, and to make it extra, to add a bonus mission, find me the special edition.
Find you the special collector's edition.
Yes, because that one has an extra thing that you can't get anywhere else.
All right, then buy it now. Cool. The highest one I've got here is Black and White. So Black and White 2 is the collector's edition. Apparently, I've got this is about £17. So that's not a bad example.
That's
so
not bad at all, actually.
not bad at all. Complete and VGA, whether or not it still has the content in their original. It is a PC game. PC games are notoriously were printed more. Can you give me a console game that was made that's no longer being sold?
Ooh. Give me.
Or even just give me a game and just say, if we ignore the fact that you can play it on certain...
Excuse me. Can you give me Yoshi's Island Advance Super Mario? I think it's Yoshi's. I can't remember what it is. It's like Super Mario Advance 3 Yoshi's Island.
Yoshi's Island. With manual, £27.99, but that's on auction, £33. Even just without the box and just the cartridge, you're looking at about a tenner. And that's assuming that's a genuine cartridge and not like a replica. Unfortunately, there is a thriving market for fakes, unfortunately. So that is a problem to consider. $49.97 if you want complete in box. So yeah, not good there.
I know. It just occurred to me. Can you find me Pokemon Crystal?
Pokemon Crystal.
Oh, the Pokemon games. You go in there, are you?
You go.
Yeah.
They bring out the big guns. Pokemon Crystal. Okay, so for just the cartridge, £119.99.
Wow.
Just the cartridge, which we might not even know is
genuine for it's a version unboxed, so it's unboxed, so it's opened, but completed with everything in it, including the manual, the Game Boy card, the kind of the advertisement piece and things, and the cardboard insert. £299.99. Sure, someone just drop. I want to play Pokemon Crystal. Just drop £299 down a thriving secondary market. So yeah, I know that some people will say that you're cherry picking because that's Pokemon, but it's like
Yeah, but the thing is, like, anybody, like, for games that are not even that old, for L, can you find me Pokemon Black and White, Pokemon Black 2, White 2?
Oh, I know. I tagged because I've got a copy of it on my shelf. So I once did this. £99, my dear.
£99. This used to retail at 50 or 40 quid.
Let's go with a game that I spent 2.5 years tracking down my copy of back when it was new.
Go on.
This is a special edition of a game that was already popular. You can get the original for fairly cheap, but this is a fairly recent game, PlayStation 2 era, Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence. Specifically Subsistence.
Subsistence. UK PAL version, not mint in box, £99.99, good sir. Or, if you wanted the limited edition, £2,947.
That's the PlayStation 2 era. They have Metal Gear Solid 3 in the remakes.
What?
Yeah.
If Burr hasn't got one, I have one. I have one that I'm just interested in knowing.
I mean,
Can you find... Oh, sorry. No, go on, Burr.
I was thinking about what kind of games, but it's like even just basic bitches like Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks for PS2.
Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks? Okay.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat
I have one just out of pure interest now.
Shaolin Monks, PS2. £34.97, which is not bad. Not bad. Although, of course, you forget that these games were retailed at nearly that when they were new.
Yeah.
And this game is nearly 10 years old. Please go on.
Yeah, L, out of pure interest, can you find me Mario Party 6, but it must have the microphone accessory.
Microphone.
Holy crap.
Mario Party 6 with microphone. £129.99.
Yep, thought so.
So, yes, there's no doubt there is a secondary market. The problem is the secondary market tends to gouge for your stuff.
It's very strange because it's almost like these games not being manufactured anymore.
Yeah, because there's a limited number of them in the world, and the further back you go, the more expensive they get. I mean, can we let's forget that one of my favorite games of all time, which you can now thankfully get on the PlayStation Network, thanks to it being part of the Castlevania Requiem collection. But if that did not exist, Castlevania Symphony of the Night PS1, the top contender already £520.22.
I mean,
Nice.
Shadow brings in a good point. What about games with peripherals?
Mm.
What about the games that require extra accessories to even play? For example, Steel Battalion, the original.
Oh my gosh! Holy shit!
Steel Battalion. Well, for just the controllers, £250. If you wanted the game, add another £74 on top.
Also,
Or if you want the complete set with limited edition, $430.
Or if you want a factory new with the controller, $2,500.
Yeah, if you wanted the Europe only game, Doshin the Giant for Nintendo GameCube, new and sealed. Can anybody give me a guess?
Oh god.
No idea.
£119.
Higher.
500.
179.
Higher for Lemming, but not too much higher.
650.
Lower. It's £599.97.
Ah.
This is new and sealed.
So yeah,
And-
the pre-owned games market is thriving. And
Yeah.
I point out that I don't know how they say this is okay, because nobody benefits from the pre-owned market except for the people selling the pre-owned games.
No. They do benefit because they benefit from reselling you the game later on. That is basically the argument. Because the argument there is that they can then sell you the game at a later time and then make more money off it again. Whereas if they have a preservation library set up where you can just grab this game for any point and play it in the future, suddenly they can't resell that because you could just go to your library and play that game or rent it.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, pre-owned sales, none of that money goes to the publisher.
Yeah, that's not going to the dev anyway. So why do they give a shit?
Well, I'm not talking about pre-owned. I'm talking about how they by basically claiming this, they allow to keep up the idea that they don't need preservation. Therefore, you can't get these games and play them for free at location and rent them from libraries and things because of that. And that's why they keep this up, because it's not about the fact that they don't get money from this. It's the fact that they can then sell you the game back in the future. That is their argument.
But they never do.
They never do. They don't.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's the
Nintendo.
And those libraries, if there was some sort of rent for the games, they would benefit from that. They could earn money from that.
I mean, God. This is entirely ridiculous. I mean, yes, some people say, well, again, you're cherry picking because Shadow Monks is only £35. Yes, but that's still almost like £35 for a game that's 10 years old.
I'd like to point out, a game that's 10 years old and wasn't very popular.
Also,
ask me again in 10 years.
Yeah, ask me again in 10 years. And the farther back you go, the more gougy it gets. Like I say, for Symphony of the Night, I'm sure if we didn't have the Requiem collection and someone would have played, I fancy playing a Symphony of the Night, which they've got to invest £500 just for the pleasure of doing so. And that's only going to go up.
Yeah,
that's a no from me, dog.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous.
So yeah, it is a ridiculous argument, and I think with that we should move on to our main topic of the night, which is the life and times of video games.
Oh,
so
I just wanted. Sorry.
Oh, go on. Yeah, one last time. Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, hey, game devs, if you're so threatened by having your old games in a preservation library, maybe you should work a little bit harder on the new ones, eh?
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
So the life and times of video games. This was a topic that was chosen, a bit of a mashup of two topics, which is talking about the length, about the time and money that video games cost. Because we've heard about it over how every year the cost doubles and video game development cycles are getting, some people are arguing, too long. Some are now saying that 5 years a la Baulders Gate, is too long to be working on one project. Or stuff like Breath of the Wild, where it's 10 years, is too long to be working on one project. And that games should focus on short experiences and short dev cycles, and how money just keeps on spiraling up and up and up for costs and things, and where does it all end? So let's kind of go through our individual kind of ideas of what we think about. First of all, let's focus on the length of time. So I'm going to state my opinion first, which is I think the length of time that a video game should have is what it requires. And it could be 6 months, it could be 6 years, it could be 10 years. Video games have long dev cycles for reasons. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about that in the context of I recently watched a video about the making of the original Tomb Raider series. Did you know that Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 were all made within a year of each other?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and after Tomb Raider
Yeah.
2, the team wanted a break, negotiated with their parent company that they wanted a break, and then make a small little interim game, which is going to be basically it would call it a DLC these days, but an expansion pack for Tomb Raider 2. And this company said, yes, okay, what we'll do is you'll make the small little game, you'll have like a break, and then we'll go into Tomb Raider 3. And then, once they saw the progress on the DLC, said, well, it seems a bit stupid just to do this. Why don't we just make that Tomb Raider 3? And suddenly they had lost all that, promised time that they'd have off. And were told, you need to deliver that by Christmas, please.
Also, this is why Tomb Raider 1, 2, and 3 have decreasing quality. Very, very obvious.
Yes. And, great games, but they have their problems. And, development time for video games, crunch is awful time. I heard that story, and I'd heard people saying how they'd work 6 days a week. They'd sometimes leave the office at 2 a.m. in the morning, come home, sleep from 3 a.m. until 6 in the morning, go into the office for 7, and then do it all again. That's not livable. That's not livable. That is not a livable condition, especially in this day and age where we are more concerned about the devs' health and in terms of physical and mental health.
Yeah, you can kind of do that for maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, but like not for 8 months.
Yeah, and they were doing it for 8 months. Ridiculous. And I feel like people saying that dev times are too long is basically saying we want the game now. We don't care. We don't want long dev. We want it now. And I just don't like that attitude. I feel like games take as long. It's a bit like when you're cooking food. You can't hurry that process. No. You're gonna end up making yourself ill.
It's like if you put the heat up on the oven higher than needed to get it done faster, you're just going to end up with a burnt pizza. That's how it works. You can't rush things.
You know what my opinion is on this whole thing? Summed up with the meme. I want shorter games with worse graphics made by people who are paid more to work less, and I am not kidding.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's
games take however long they take to develop.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, but I want the game devs to take as long as they need for it. I want them to work. I want a happy work-life balance for them and paid well and stuff like that. And then the game will come out as and when. But at the same time, I gotta ask, who the fuck was asking for all the game companies were like, yeah, but we have look at our graphics, our horses shit in real time, and I was like, who's the fuck asked for this? I just want a game, unless you're playing a simulator game, which is Armor or a flight simulator. I don't need my beards to grow in real time. I don't need my horse to shit in real time. I don't need this. Just give me a
Yeah, but maybe the devs needed it, because I think those all those things like the horses' balls shrinking in the weather, I think this is what the devs wanted. They found that they want to work on that, if I recall correctly.
But if they want to work on that, that's fine. But I want them to not have to crunch to do that. kind
Yeah,
of.
so the rule with this, much like the rule with any sort of development, is 3 things. You can have 2 of them. You can have it either, the 3 things are, you can have them cheap. Oh God, what is it? It'll either, the 3 things you need to put into it that you need at least 2 of: time, money, and
Quality.
and quality. You can have it either good and fast, good and expensive, or expensive
And fast.
and fast.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense, but it's a triangle. You can mix. You can have all of them, and it'll be great. Or you can have 2 of them, and it'll be good. But if you try and fuck it up, you're fucked up.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I mean,
go, Bubba.
sorry. Look, because with this whole problem, what I'm thinking about how much time the games take. When the development process is going fine, then absolutely yes, it can take like 5 years. It can take 7 years. But that's when the game is managed correctly. That's when the game is like, the owners take, like, let's say, fair when it's needed and more on hand control when it's needed. And from a lot of examples where the times are horribly long and it does not translate into any quality of the game is when
yeah.
when the game is really horribly mismanaged and it turns just into development hell, where there's a lot of problems about how the game direction should look, what the game is supposed to be, who's supposed to be doing what, and then the teams are changing, and then the management is changing, and the game takes another year and another year of just running in place and doing things again and again, the same things.
I mean, I agree that mismanagement can be a fact. I mean, who here remembers when AAA games used to basically take 2 years to make? That used to be basically the timeline. And now, of course, now they're making it's about 5 years. Because I think people also point out, it's like, oh, in the PS2 era, we had 3 GTA games during the PS3 era. We've only had 1 in the PlayStation 3, 2 in the PlayStation 2, 3 era, 1 in the PS4 era, and now we're looking to get 1 in the PlayStation 5 era. What the hell?
Yeah, but like development. But the thing is, the power of our machines has changed. Like
Not just that, the
with
scope
a
is
with
getting
a
bigger.
yeah, like with a more powerful machine, like it can do more things, so people can do more things. I mean, doors are still the fucking evil, but like we can do crazy ass shit now.
If
You
you
can
take
kick doors in Tarkov. It's great.
if you take GTA 3 and GTA 5, they are 2 open world games, and one was made in a quarter of the time, and it looks like it was made in a quarter of the time, and it plays like it's made in a quarter of the time because, yes, unfortunately, GTA 5 took longer to make because they were going into like a lot of insane details because they had the technology to do that now.
Yeah.
Things
It
like
also bears noting that GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas all use the same engine and all share assets.
They do.
Indeed. And also, those assets were fairly easy to make compared to the assets now. Because when your model had 1,000 polygons, you could make a texture one day, you could make a frame in another day, you can make animations in a third day and call it the job done. Now it takes like 2 months to make one character.
I mean, if you think about it on this subject, Grand Theft Auto, the vehicle details now, because you've got first-person view, you've got to have the entire inside of the car detailed, and not only that, how much time must it take to be able to manipulate every point of damage on that vehicle?
Yeah, I mean, I just use GTA as an example because it shows the point of that development time increasing because games are increasing in their size and scope and what they can do because the technology is increasing.
Yeah.
And I think, that's just going to lead to longer dev times. And quite frankly, I think as long as the devs aren't being crunched, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Well,
which brings us back to the triangle. You can have it done quickly, low cost and high quality.
Yeah.
If you want it done within a time frame, publishers, you've got to throw a fuck ton of money at it. Because you shouldn't be putting your developers through crunch, so you should be hiring more of them to get the jobs done that you need.
Yeah.
Give them more jobs, give them well paid, and give them the time off when they need it. Your job, your game will be done.
Yeah. Shadow, thoughts?
Do you know? Sorry.
No. Let Burr talk.
I just wanted to say an anecdote that came to my mind. But do you know the story of how a secret character of Reptile was added to Mortal Kombat 1?
It was a mistake, wasn't it?
No. Famously, it was done by the main developer, Ed Boon. And the night before the game went to gold, went to be done, he just palette swapped one of the characters, added few scripted things like the character would appear in special moments and say something, and added that when you fulfill those things that he says, you could fight him on one of the arenas, and wham bam, he did it in one night, and no one knew about it except for him.
This is
So
what happens when you give developers the opportunity
and
to
also
build a game.
Yeah, also that's what you could do to a game in 1992. You could suddenly add a hidden character
Overnight.
in one night, overnight. Nowadays, if you want to add a character like a DLC, it takes months of work on animations, on model, on voices, on a whole lot of things that you have to do to do it. You can't do it overnight anymore.
I mean, hell, look at the advent of the cheat code, well, which we don't get anymore because money. But the advent of the cheat code, the guy who invented the Konami code, put it in the game. He coded this cheat into the game because he couldn't beat his own game. So you put a cheat code in that he was going to remove before the game went to gold, forgot to, and then released the game anyway. And that's how the Konami code came into fashion. He was able, on short notice, I'm going to add this code that I can enter into the game. Did that, and then threw it out. And that's how we have the Konami code. And I love that story.
I going back to the kind of the timeline, I do think that people are getting bent out of shape over, because I mean, Jedi Fallen Order, that took Survivor, that took about 2-3 years. So not even the full 3 year the 5 dev cycle. You know, that was done in a good amount of time. Where's the next Mario game? And when I say Mario game, the next, platformer. We've not seen things since Odyssey. That's coming up for quite a while now.
Oh, we've got Wonder coming up now, haven't we?
But is that more or less? That's not really that's not really in the Super series though. It's not really the platforming kind of generation.
It is.
Yeah, it's more.
2D Mario platformer. Come on.
I mean,
It's not, but it's not. I'm talking about like a 3D Mario platform, like Odyssey and things like that.
Yeah. But
yeah, it's a 2D platformer like the Super Mario Wii U or such. It's not a 3D, you're right. But that's sort of another thing. That's not as much probably out of the long development cycles. That feels like Nintendo has some problems with analyzing, assessing maybe what the people want.
I have a skeleton to pick with Nintendo, but I gotta say, their AAA titles, I don't, because you can clearly see they're taking their time with them, and it is those 5-year and longer dev cycles for them.
Game Freak, I've got a few words to have with you, I think, Shadow.
I know.
I know. Sorry.
They could do with a longer fucking cycle, but the card game says otherwise.
I know.
Anyway, I did have something. Like, we could understand. I can understand that we've got a lot, like, games that have a bigger scope now, because according to the devlog of City Skylines 2, they are simulating the citizens down to their ages, and citizens of different ages will have different weights on their desires. Like older citizens will prioritize cheap stuff over getting there quicker. Younger citizens will prioritize getting to places quicker, and there is a little bit of cost in there, but they don't really mind so much. In the first game, basically all you had to do was I wire my power plant to my buildings. In City Skylines 2, you got two different types of power: high voltage and low voltage power lines. You've got to have transformers to change between them. Now they're simulating the maintenance of roads, how likely accidents are going to happen. Companies are going to be like commercial businesses are going to be analyzing where best to send their goods to for profit and such. Like in comparison to the older game, it's no contest. There's so much going on now, and it's like that they hadn't spoken about City Skylines 2 for several years, probably because they were working on it.
Yeah, that's also kind of a problem sometimes. Maybe more often than we know of the devs falling prey to their own ambitions when they want. I want to add this, and I want to add that, and I want to add that. And
You mean Duke Nukem
You can forever.
yeah, Duke Nukem Forever. I mean Stardew Valley as well.
Well, that's the dark side of design, where having almost no limit upon your time just means the game just never gets finished and just as always.
Which
is
does also raise the point that a lot of this,
feature creep.
a lot of the problems when it comes to like the player base feeling entitled to know about a game's release, feeling like it should be released. You've announced it, release it now. No delays, nothing like that.
God, the amount of people I see bitching in the fucking Steam sort of things about that next game. When are you gonna release it? When are you gonna release it? Shut the fuck up!
It's a core point. At this point, it's a core part of the community for Escape from Tarkov players to ask when wipe, because the wipe will be when the next big update is. So it's ingrained in gamer society, the level of entitlement of I want it now, and that could easily be waylaid by the publishers not announcing the game.
Yeah, like
they announce the game, they set and release date. That adds pressure to the developers.
Yeah, I actually respect Nintendo for doing this. Actually.
Yeah.
Because when they announce a game, it's usually quite close to release date, and they let the hype build up just enough for the game to come up. That's very smart.
Yeah. As I see it, the problem with it is it's all connected with money. Because if you announce it ahead of time, like a year or 1.5 years, you have a chance to gauge the interest of people. You have a chance to adjust the marketing campaign. You can start the marketing campaign with that. You can start getting people hyped so that they want the game.
Yeah,
they didn't know they do.
Yeah, did you know that Homeworld 3 has been delayed till next year?
Yeah.
There's a whole entire corporate hype cycle about games these days, where there's a corporate manifest on how to, when you announce the game, once it's at this point, you start spinning it, you start releasing videos. Just keep that hype going. People buy the game,
and the whole thing is about optimizing how much money the game is gonna make.
I wonder how much Metroid Prime Remastered made, because that literally was just dropped on the stream.
Yeah, I wonder. I think that probably got good word of mouth though.
But yeah, I go on.
I was just gonna say, if I was a dev and I had the ability to, every time somebody asked me when are you gonna release it, I'd push it back another month.
Next month, yeah. Spite, yep. I mean, I personally feel like I get people thinking that game companies can be too ambitious, but generally that's why companies are self-regulated within themselves. They know when they're being too ambitious. They know when to cut things. They know when to do things. Some companies don't, and unfortunately, but thing is, more often than not, a company knows what they're able to do and is aware of what they are limited to in terms of finance and also time. I mean, a good example is this is God of War 2. It pretty much came out as it is, exactly on budget, exactly on what they intended to include, maybe with a few cuts here and there, but there was no, like, it didn't result in a bad game, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Go on.
and I dare say that's probably a point against having auteurs in the video game industry. A single figurehead of which everybody bows down to. Because we all know what happened with Peter Molyneux because he when nobody told Peter Molyneux no, he could run riot, and that's how we got the black and white game with gesture only and no UI.
Or
Thank
how how you couldn't leave him alone at the press conference because he'd start saying about features no one ever planned. I was like, no, we can't do that.
Yeah, bear in mind, people, Peter Molyneux wanted the first Dungeon Keeper to be UI-less, and somebody had to tell him.
There's a reason UI exists.
Yeah, and we found out why in black and white, because it's really fucking difficult.
Yeah.
Because it's
Also,
called a user interface.
Yeah. I remember
User
back in the
things.
I remember back in the day in the 90s at the beginning when I first started playing that, how confusing the game was. I would have been completely lost without the UI.
How do you even play a strategy game without UI?
Yeah.
Okay, let's kind of move it to the other side of it. The cost of, not the cost from us as the consumer, but the cost of video games to produce in terms of money. Because I mean, we've heard like some of these ridiculous figures, like the way that GTA 5 whatever was like $100 million or something in terms of whatever. I don't know, but the point is, $1 million. I mean, clearly games are expensive to make, and they keep getting more and more expensive as they also gain more complex, get more and more complex. And what is our thoughts on the cost of games?
If I can start with a controversial opinion.
Go on.
Yes.
I don't trust those reports. I don't trust those reports that say how much the game costs. 'Cause
it's very much a marketing thing, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like
it's a marketing thing.
Another thing is they are showing how much a game costs, and at the same time, the developers, the artists, the people involved in the game were paid pittance, were paid peanuts. Where did the money go? Where's the money, Lebowski?
I'll tell you where the money went. The second point. They keep saying it costs this much to make. That usually includes the marketing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it was like 20% of a game's budget is spent on its marketing or something like that.
Yeah, but that's
Something
still
like that,
20%. What about the RIE?
Well, I think it's actually more like 25 or 30. But yeah, I get a point. Is where does the rest of it go?
Yeah.
And I think it's because, game developers are paid, not paid well, but they are paid. But there's also a lot of them. And there's also the equipment that it costs to get them. I mean, I never worked in the industry, so I don't know. I have training, but I have heard things. Again, watching that 2-minute documentary, they were quite open about things about how, like, because apparently the IDOS, we're thinking they actually paid residuals to all their developers.
What?
Yeah. So if you so if you worked on Tomb Raider 1 and 2 and 3, you got residuals for that sale of that game, as long as you didn't quit before the end of the game was finished being produced.
That makes sense, honestly. That makes sense.
Yeah, so but then it did mean that you were then crunching for 9 months on that game. But then, of course, the payout was like, because back in those days, that game series single-handedly took IDOS out of the red and into the black in a year. They were in like they were like a $10 million deficit. Suddenly, they had $50 million.
Final Fantasy was just supposed to be the Final Fantasy for Square Enix.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
16 games later.
Yeah, and then next minute, Lara Croft was on a Playboy magazine.
That was very interesting, actually, because they I should link this documentary. They talk about how the marketing team leaned into that right up until a feature film was starting to come out, which they wanted to make sure that you could take your kids to, then decided it was time to crack down on that.
Yeah.
Because marketing.
They wanted the nude mod to be a thing.
They requested that developers put the nude cheat in Tomb Raider 2. There was the rumor about it in Tomb Raider 1, and apparently the marketing team requested that become a reality for 2.
Yeah. And there is a nude cheat actually in
It
Tomb Raider 2.
It does. It blows you up.
You explode.
The team's protest for that was they made the exploding Lara cheat, which is what that cheat was.
It's a new mod, but just explode.
It kicks. Yeah.
But yeah, that is
As the sole woman on this podcast, there's just a little bit of awkwardness about that. Like,
what, the exploding Lara or the no, I find it very.
One thing about a
whole
new
thing,
cheat.
yeah.
Come on.
So did the developers. I mean, they back in the day. Well, we're getting on off topic, but back in the day, they were already going to parties where, bear in mind, the first game there was a nude mod made because, of course, there fucking was. And so they got them tied in. It was like, oh, you're the people that made that sex. It's like there's nothing to do with that, us. And so they're already getting these accusations by people thinking they were weirdos at parties. Now they were being asked to actually involve the game in that. Of course, I would protest. It was quite actually to hear the team actually saying, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that at all. Bear in mind that it was a mostly male team, but there were a few women working there. It was really... It's good to hear the team saying, "Fuck no, we're not going to do that."
Yeah. How about we ask Lara herself? Lara, would you like to be nude in your game?
No.
No.
No. Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable thinking about it. And to be fair, the fact that was a big part of the marketing is just even more creepier. Which is like anyway, back to the topic on hand. Costs involved. I think it's because people are starting to see like games are starting to increase cost on our end as the consumer, and starting to wonder like, which I do understand, but I also think there's also a little bit like, well, games have increased costs in terms of development, depending on the game. Like live for service games can go fuck themselves.
As can be shown by the fact that a lot of them are... Oh, the 3 games that I talked about in my news broadcast were all live service games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The trend is finally being bucked. Go on, Shanna.
Yeah, and I think we do have to admit that video games are kind of a luxury as well, so they are going to be higher up. I think for me, the prices increasing in the middle of a cost of living crisis is a bit of a sore point. But I think for me, it just means that I'm no longer able to take risks now. I have to wait for reviews and stuff like that, or I have to be absolutely certain I'm going to go to buy this. Like, I'm probably going to end up pre-ordering Baulders Gate 3 when my paycheck comes in, because I'm pretty certain I'm going to be playing that game, but I'm just not.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure yet. And
I'm probably going to just.
60 quid's a bit. Is it 60 or 50? I can't remember how much it is. But it's a big.
60.
Yeah, it's a big number to risk, kind of thing.
Yeah, but it's a big game. It kind of deserves a big number, though.
Yeah. I'm not like. Don't get me wrong. It's not. I'm not criticizing them at all. I mean, they had a long dev cycle. They've got to pay for the license and everything. But it's more a case of being like, I just can't risk it anymore.
Yeah.
If it's a 30 quid, it's like I'm a little bit wary on 30 quid and up games, but like it's 20 and below, like okay.
I'm of the opinion I probably will be pre-ordering Spider-Man 2 just because I know it's very likely I'm going to buy it anyway. So
yeah.
I mean, people say don't pre-order games. I always say don't listen to people who say that. I'd say probably 1 time out of 10, because if you are absolutely certain you're going to like this game, then sure, there's no harm in pre-ordering it. If you're unsure, don't pre-order it. But yeah.
Yeah, I think if you pre-order a game, you've got to be absolutely.
You've got to be absolutely certain.
Yeah. If you've got any doubt at all, just wait. It will be there. I assure you, it will be there. There'll be a Steam sale in the far future. Don't worry about it.
Don't pre-order on a hype.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, video games are indeed a luxury item. Like going to the cinema for some people. Oh, I can't do that; it's too expensive. It's a luxury item. You can just wait until it's cheaper. You can be patient. Not people were too hyped once again on the fear of missing out when a game is brand new. But even then, you don't have to play every video game. You don't have to buy it as soon as it comes out. And if $70, if £50 is too much for a game, look at indies. You don't need to get a AAA published title. There are indie games out there that cost next to nothing. BattleBit Remastered is £13. One of my favorite. Oh,
No. You finish up. You finish up first.
one of my favorite flight games, which is VR compatible, Project Wingman, which is basically indie Ace Combat, is 20 quid.
Straight. Or you can finish your fucking backlog.
Ooh, ouch.
That's a call out for me as well.
Ouch.
Yeah, I mean that
That's
is right here.
painful.
No.
Come back.
I had to leave the room for a second there.
My games library, according to Steam, is 1,165 games.
Yeah.
I'm not getting through that backlog.
Yeah, that's also why I'm completely fine with the actors and writers strike that's going on right now. Like,
Yep.
I have so many films and shit and shows to watch. Like, I'll be happy. You know, like I don't need just pay your writers, but like I got shit to do. I got loads of things.
Since you've mentioned,
I still haven't watched Fury Road.
Since you've mentioned WGA and SAG-AFTRA strike, I wanted to return to one thing about what we've been talking before about how people don't know how the actual gaming industry really looks from the inside. Because that is something also that makes people maybe a lot desensitized to the pleas of developers and people working on the games whenever they want to fight for the rights, whenever they want to
Personally, I'm going to put out that I don't think gamers care. They don't want to know because it gives them a sense of they can be dicks and not have to worry about it. Because if they knew the process, then suddenly the idea is like, oh, now you understand how difficult it is. Now you look like a prick by requesting that. And so by not knowing about it, it gives you an idea like, well, I don't know how, so I could be a prick if I want to, and no one can call me out on it.
Is that the same reason why they don't want to play a woman in Star Wars Outlaws? Because then they have to acknowledge that women exist, and they can't just be really rude on the internet to them.
I don't know.
People are dicks.
Yeah, basically people. Basically, a very big part of the gaming community are a bunch of dicks who don't understand gaming.
This is why it is a problem, because if you want to willingly ignore all this, you won't be sympathetic to the problems of devs, and if they don't have a support of the gamers, if they just act on their own, they might not be as successful with continuously striking as SAG-AFTRA is right now with WGA, because there's a lot of people that do agree and acknowledge that all those people working in the industry don't have a great time. Whereas the producers earn $27 million a year, like Ron Perlman said. Well, $27 fucking million to be literal.
I think we should let Ron Perlman burn down Bob Iger's house.
Yes. And first, he has to go one more time through makeup to look like hell.
Yeah, I'm not against this. Motion carried. Yes.
Yeah, I would like video game devs to unionize. That would make me very happy.
Please.
Very happy. And also CGI artists, please For the love of God, unionize.
Yeah,
You would hold
unionize.
so much power.
But that might be one of the reasons why those game associations that that lobby for no preservation for games, why they don't want the games to be treated as arts,
Oh yeah,
because
because then they'd have to
that
pay
would make
residuals.
that would make
Sure.
the developers even, that would give them even more reasons to unionize, to require, to demand residuals.
It's
Oh
a
no! I guess they'd have to pay their CEOs less. Oh, woe is me! They won't be able to afford
Yeah.
another fucking yacht.
The groups of people who lobby to make sure that we can't play old. Oh, corporate shills. Okay, yeah.
Bootlickers.
Yes.
well, I'll say that the Entertainment Software Association, which Nintendo is a member of. So yeah, I
My
mean,
show.
we're just generally, so we're generally in the ballpark of that. While video games have become a very expensive thing to manufacture, that's not really a big problem because, of course, they have the budget that they need for what they require.
It is
Yeah.
like the video game industry is larger than the movie industry.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
an incontrovertible fact.
And there's more moving parts within it because, like,
Yeah.
for all the art that films are, the fact that they are not an interactive medium means that there's only so much to, you know.
So they are
Do.
by that fact alone, they are going to have a smaller budget.
Yeah, and movies are a 90-minute to 3-hour endeavor. That's one and done. Video games can be hundreds of hours, requiring constant background music that doesn't feel like it's repeating, that require new and updated art everywhere. You know, you need
Yeah.
to be going to different locations, different ideas to keep the player interested.
And
Yeah.
and at least in a film, you're not going to have a moment where your actor just suddenly falls through the floor.
You never know
Yeah.
that might happen in June too.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. But like, when
Yeah.
they're not supposed to, kind of thing. And of course, remember that the player is the cameraman in most
Yeah.
video games.
Yeah, and the director,
And the
Mm.
director.
and the actors.
Yep.
Yeah,
There's
and
a lot going
also,
on there.
speaking of actors falling through the floor, just wait till some of the producers decide to actually do some AI movies on the cheap.
Oh God, no.
Well,
I've
we'll see
seen.
what happens because nobody will go see them.
Yeah, have you seen that? Have you seen that UI thing? Like,
Secret, the
AI? No, not the Secret War thing. I
not
mean
the Secret
that
Invasion.
intro sort of thing fucking sucks, ugly as shit. But imitate. I can't remember if it was like Martin Scorsese or something. It was like an intro to something, and it's this cocktail wine thing.
Oh,
And
I
it's
think
so
it was.
quick. It's really quick, cutting in and out, and nobody looks human
Wait,
or anything like that.
wasn't it a beer commercial?
There was the beer commercial
Yeah.
as well, but there was one where it was an intro, like it probably was the beer commercial.
There is one big downside.
Shit.
There is one big downside to the whole big cost of the industry. Risk and innovation.
Yeah.
Yes, because nobody's going to risk that much money.
Yes. So now I think this is a self-fulfilling situation because companies that indies will step in to try and innovate where areas where other companies aren't, and other smaller studios, still AAA, but smaller studios, will also still innovate, but they will step in where they feel like there's a gap in the market in that way. So I think there'll still be innovation. It's just gonna be a lot more slow. I mean, the thing that's kicked off this argument.
Mostly indies as well.
Sorry, what was that?
It's gonna be mostly indies as well.
Mostly indies as well, yeah. Because the article that started this was Kotaku's article on blockbuster game development cost out of control by Ethan Gatch, published on the 1st of May, which a recent decision by the UK's competition market authorities basically compiled a 418-page report outlining the researcher reasoning. And according to this, it cites that projecting blockbuster game budget would go from an average of 50 million to 150 million the last console generation to over 200 million for games released in the next couple of years. And yeah, that is a lot of money we're dealing with here.
I believe the term here is unsustainable growth.
Yeah,
Oh.
that is a lot of money, but
Hello.
Drifting, you did it!
oh,
Thank you so much for the 50 bits drifting. I do appreciate it. Hello. So
Yeah,
you
like
go on.
yeah, because of recent I found a preservation, like similar to what we were talking about earlier. I found a preservation site that has some old edutainment games I used to play when I was in my childhood that I thought I'd never see again. And some of the things they've got there are old Star Wars games, like there's Droid Works, and there's an interesting game about like wildlife on Naboo, and stuff like that. Like
yeah,
lots of
the
really
Gundam
interesting,
Frontier.
varied games, and I would love to see that again, but I doubt that we will because
Yeah.
you know Disney doesn't want to risk the big bucks.
Not just that, but also those games were very small in scope, whereas a lot of the games you're getting, you tend to be like a lot larger in scope these days. I was going to replay that and see if it works. See if it works this time, drifting. It should work, I think.
You
Yep,
did
there
it!
it is.
There we go. So now the sound. Yep, cool, fantastic. One of my favorite bit alerts. I very rarely get those bit alerts come up. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. Anyway, yes, yeah, and I think you're going to see companies. I mean, you've already seen it. Companies retreating. Retreating is the word this article uses, into their franchises. Ubisoft retreats into their Assassin's Creed franchise because they know it's something safe that they can produce. I very rarely do I get used bit alerts these days, drifting. But yeah, I think that's the one downside, is that with big games come big budgets and things always increase in price, especially with inflation and such that goes on. I think we can't escape it. This is just the trend of video games.
Yeah, this is how it is now.
I kind of, it's surprising and I hate it because weirdly the people who take the most risks with the money are the indie devs, where they have to like take huge credits from the bank to start a company. They are usually on the brink of bankruptcy when they're making the games, and still they take the risks. They create something new. They come up with new interesting ideas. They do things that excite them. Then it sometimes flops, but it sometimes explodes into an amazing game that people love for years to come.
That's the proof that they're the ones taking all the risks.
Those who take the highest risks are also those who can least afford it.
Yeah, and those who can lose the most, because when you lose
now
20,
look what you've done now.
Oh, bloody hell! Thank you for the 400 bits, drifting.
Thank you, drifting. Yeah.
What were you saying, Lemming? Sorry, I interrupted.
Well, yeah, it's the fact that the indie developer is the one that puts forth the innovation, brings out a new idea. Maybe, I mean, an indie developer made Minecraft, and then next thing you know, boom! Everyone was just like, how do we make that? How do we do that? Make that, and then it happens every single time. The innovation is done by the indie dev, and then that is pushed to one side as all the big publishers. I can see the fighting going on. Stop it. All the publishers go, right, do this. And that's when the innovation actually gets taken hold of.
Yeah.
But the indie dev is still just sit there going, oh, I made that, what do I do?
Yeah, the big corporations are like, I want you to make the next Minecraft. It's like, bro, don't make the next Minecraft. Make the next whatever you want to be.
Yeah, make something new and interesting.
You can't make the next Minecraft. You are the Minecraft's already there.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm unfortunately going to have to play. Unfortunately, I have to play this clip for the sake of the audience, although not for the group here. Simply because I'm going to play it here so that they can hear it quite succinctly.
Here comes a new challenger!
Here comes a new challenger. So yeah, Karen. I'm sorry.
Right,
Yes.
please be your own game. Do not chase the coattails of the person before, unless you have a very good idea about how to improve their genre.
Like if you see an innovation done by an indie dev, what you need to do is go, that's really good. Here's
Nick.
a bunch of money. Come join us.
Yeah, or be like, hey, that's a good idea that dev had, but I have an idea to make it better, and then
Yeah.
do that, but do your own thing. Like Root of Pacha is not Stardew Valley again. It's still a pixel farming sim, but it's in the prehistoric era, which makes it its
Yeah.
own unique doohickey.
Yeah, I mean,
That-
as much as I hate them for doing it, take a page out of Games Workshop's book. They found all the cool indie animators out there that were doing animations based on their works and went, you, and you. Delete your YouTube channels. Here's a bunch of money. You're coming with us.
That fucking sucks though, because that there goes their portfolio kind of thing.
Yeah. And the thing is, their portfolio is now part of Warhammer's streaming service.
Yeah, but that means that when they leave,
Yeah, but that
Workshop
portfolio lives or
As I
dies
said,
by
it's-
Games
it-
Workshop's.
It's a dick move on Games Workshop's
Yeah.
part, but it's the whole thing of, you're a talented artist, here's a bunch of money, come do talented artist things for my company.
Yeah, that
Well-
that on its face is fine. It's just everything else.
It's everything else, yeah.
It's the way Games Workshop and Warhammer have handled it that I don't like.
Shit. Drifting.
What are you doing?
Oh,
What are
no.
you doing? Oh no.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my god, a hype train is almost here.
That's
dear.
fine. That hype train's not going to leave the station. It's fine. So, and that's gonna, I think that we've kind of discussed the life and times of video games because we then get to the point where gamers get their hands on it, and gamers tend to tear things apart without realizing the context of things quite a lot. And I think, that's not
They
that's
break things.
I think that's a very big context for us to talk about. Oh God, would you two behave? And we've got
Those two will never behave. I don't know why you're asking.
oh God. Which we've got the video game. I think the whole thing about gamers is very important, especially what we talked about earlier about not wanting to set like a new standard for games too much. Oh Jesus. And the fact is, yes, we should make sure the games are commented on their own merit and they are supported on their own merit and nothing more than that. Games get the development time they need with the budget that they need and the time investment that they need. I think that no one would ever argue that a game should receive half its budget or half its time that it requires, because at the end of the day, you're then rushing development, and that's just bad for everyone. Thanks for the resub there, Shadow. Oh God.
You didn't.
Well, I guess we've got a hype train coming through, which is I think my second ever hype train. So I do appreciate that.
I'm sorry. It was like you just need to do one thing. I'm like, fuck it. Why not?
Fine.
I get to lose.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna keep streaming.
Thank you very
Now
much,
we gotta
Shadow.
keep going. Now we gotta keep going.
Well,
No.
we are going to finish off in about 10 minutes, but the hype train will finish in that time. But yeah, it's. Do you want to add any more about like the development time of video games as well as their cost? I personally feel like leave the devs alone to do their fucking job.
Yeah. From both sides, not
From both
just, not
sides.
just the executives who are trying to manipulate the entire situation to their advantage. Fuck's sake. No. Set the time, give them the budget, and let them develop the game. And for the fans who keep pressuring them to release it now, hold your horses, let them build their fucking game, and let them get on with it.
Thank you for
Leave them alone.
thank you for the gifted tier subs.
Level 4 hype train.
Thank you for the 5 gifted tier subs. That's right. Why on earth they would want a subscription to this channel, given the fact that I've not streamed much. To be fair, I'm picking up streaming next week. So now that I've got,
I'm trying
no,
to get
no, you've got to
schedule
stream.
back
You've got
in.
to stream on Saturday, haven't you?
Well, there's Silly Voices on Saturday, and then there's of course the RPG on Sunday. Then it's back to normal streaming on Monday. So yes, yeah.
What are you going to stream on the Monday?
It's gonna be some Slay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's gonna be fun. I've missed playing Sly too, so that's gonna be fun. But I might even do some tomorrow if I'm feeling about it. We'll see. But yeah, one thing I also think is that gamers should try and avoid being. Oh, Drifting says, "I can't wait for Saturday. Our Shadow Phoenix will return, right?"
Temporarily, yes.
There you go. Temporarily, as the role of Emma Sky.
I can live with temporarily.
So in our current situation here, I do feel the need to say, ladies and gentlemen of the game playing audience, do not allow yourself to be consumed by the hype train.
Except this
Stop.
one. This one's a cool hype train.
Yeah, this hype train is cool, but when it comes to video game marketing, temper your expectations.
Yes.
And shut the fuck up.
Chill the fuck down. Also, don't always think that your ideas are the greatest. And I say that I say that even to myself. For example, everyone who says, "Oh, the next X game should be open world," not every game or theme or genre fits having an open world game. Like a Dota open world game would be shit. With all respect. Now having it as an RPG with different eras, or even as a visual novel, different thing entirely. That definitely fits that genre.
Point and click.
Point and click, exactly. Different games suit different types of genre. Like for example, if a Monkey Island came out and it was a first-person shooter, you wouldn't say that's not a Monkey Island game because it's not a Monkey Island game. It's not really fitting with the theme. Although that Doom mod was very impressive from that video that I've seen of Scarfs. But the point is that people say that the game should be designed like this, which we have game developers for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, no, go on.
It's the reason why I don't like games like Mario Maker. So I don't want to play levels designed by other players. I want levels in games designed by professional game developers.
Yeah, I think for those type of games where there's like a form of custom-made content, you'll get like 80 to 90% of stuff is just crap. But there's that 20% of stuff that's like gold, but it's just very hard to find.
Yeah.
You've got a great amount of people who made their really, really hard game, which you have to know the hidden block which has the star, which lets you pass it, kind of thing. It's a bullshit level. Or you've got the meme levels, and then you've got the teeny tiny bit which are actually interesting.
But the thing is, I actually like those games like Mario Maker, like Little Big Planet, like,
which is fine. I'm not criticizing that, but
yeah. I mean, I can see that it's using on one hand it is using the players to prolong the life of your game, but on the other hand, this is also getting the players to use their creativity, to use their passion to create something.
Yeah. In fairness, the Mario Maker games are literally just that. So
yeah.
I personally am more in favor of directed experience. Like I am essentially commissioning a video game dev to give me their skills. Like I'm not wandering into a Mass Effect game and saying I would like a racing game kind of thing. Like no, I'm here for an RPG, thank you. And to try and fuck the Canadian man. Yes.
Interesting point. I like seeing the community creativity. I just don't know how I feel about that game being a whole concept of a AAA game that you have to pay for. Like that money is not ending up to them. I get that. At the same time, I think if the game is just literally the tools, then yeah. But most often not. Like the Little Big Planet games have a great single player game. With it.
Never played Mario Maker 2, but I remember Mario Maker 1 had like 100 levels that were created by Nintendo. So if you didn't want to play the the games made by the community, or didn't have the internet connection, or didn't want to create anything of your own, you had some levels to play. And I think Mario Maker 2 has that. Because Little Big Planet games definitely had the actual like offline mode
Oh, yeah.
that you could play. That was always great.
I mean, the first one was narrated by Stephen Fry, so
So was the second and third. So
I
Yeah.
played the second and third, so I didn't know that. But yeah, I enjoy them for that reason. But you know, when it's all just like user created content is the main focus of the game, not fan of it personally.
Oh, so like where it's like Minecraft, where it's all user right, it's not like directed or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love Minecraft to just be able to go in and build, but that's all you do. So I play Minecraft, like cool. Half an hour later, like
I mean, sandbox games are not for everyone. I'm not really into them either.
I mean, it's also the fact that I have a certain level of personal creativity that just doesn't gel with games like that.
I get choice paralysis very easily, and it's just like
Yeah.
Well, I think we've kind of.
Especially
I just want to bitch about the games which are basically like, yeah, you could do whatever you want in this game, and I'm like, yeah, okay, so now I want a racing game, and they're like, and I'm like, yeah, you didn't design that for that, did it? So stop saying the game can do whatever I fucking want, because it can't, can it? Because you have to program that in. Stop it. That's it. That's me done.
Yeah, that.
Angie.
There's much to be angry about.
Well, I think it's a good place for us to call it tonight because we've been going for our regular 2 hours. I want to thank my my cohorts for joining me on today's stream. I want to thank Burr.
Pay the devs.
Pay the devs. Yep. Lemming.
Pay the devs.
And Shadow.
Yeah, pay your fucking devs and your writers and your thingies, and if you use AI, shove up your ass.
Just pay your fucking employees.
Yeah, I see you, Jeff Keighley. I see you using your AI for some random shit. Stop that.
Or else the Torchic's gonna come to your house.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. AI is theft.
AI is theft. You can't copyright it, and you're just stealing other people's stuff. So yes.
Well, with that, we're going to call it a night. Thank you for joining us, everyone. We will see you all next time for the next episode of the Common Dance Podcast on the last Tuesday of every month. I know it's Wednesday, but we just a bit day late. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Peace.
Night.